Hi, everyone. Welcome. I am Rachel McNorton, the Showroom and Territory Manager for Cowton & Tout here in Atlanta. We are thrilled that you are here with us today to join our Cowton & Tout CEO, Key Hall, as she discusses with Phoebe Howard on her new book, The Principles of Pretty Rooms. Key Hall became the CEO of Cowton & Tout at the age of 33, becoming the very first CEO of a multi-brand luxury textile group. Both of her parents and her paternal grandparents were in the field of interior design, so this industry really runs in her veins. She oversees distribution and management of all 5 of our Cowton & Tout brands across North America and holds a seat on the board of our parent company, Colfax & Fowler. Key, we are so excited to have you join us today.
Thank you, Rachel. Welcome to Design ADAC's Spring Market. I'm so pleased to be joining Phoebe Howard to discuss her new book, just released, The Principles of Pretty Rooms. This is her 4th book, on top of running the design empire, Mrs. Howard. She is wife to James Howard, mother to Nellie Howard, and on top of it, a great friend of mine and a great friend of Cowton & Tout's. So I am pleased to have her join us. I'm actually sitting in one of Phoebe's rooms that is featured in the book. It's so nice to see you, Phoebe, and you're sitting in one of your beautiful rooms as well.
I am. Thanks to you. Key is so glad. I'm so happy to see you. I mean, I wish we were in person. I wish we were in the showroom like we were 2 years ago. You know, it's my happy place, the Cowton & Tout showroom. I could just live in there for days on end, just looking at all the beautiful, luxurious fabrics. And I miss it.
I know. Phoebe said something funny yesterday. She said Cowton & Tout is her ride or die, which
it is.
She is definitely getting a jacket with that on the back, the jean jacket.
I am ride or die Cowton & Tout. I mean, it's always my first stop. It's such a one-stop shop. I mean, you've got all the beautiful, the chintzes, you've got the embroideries, you've got the sheers, you've got the silks, the wools, the upholstery weights, the wallpapers, the trims. I mean, if you can't find it in there, you quit, go home.
Well, your book is absolutely stunning. It's incredibly inspirational. This cover is so, it's elegant, it's pretty, it's a little not what I would expect from Phoebe Howard as far as being a little more modern. How are the covers chosen?
Well, so after writing 4 books in 8 years, one of the things I've learned is that I don't get to choose the cover. The cover is up to the publisher, and they put it in front of a committee, and they actually put a lot of thought into it. So they asked me to choose, 6, maybe 8 of my favorites, and then it's up to them. And this one really took me kind of by surprise because it is more modern than my typical. But there's something about it that really captured the essence of what I was trying to say in the book, and just the off-center title and just all the modern forms and the simple ivory and the gold. I was really pleased with it in the end. I just hope it's not too much of a bait and switch because you think you're buying a modern book and you're not. The rest of the work is fairly traditional, but I think it sets a really lovely tone to enter the book.
Well, it's also intriguing, just the composition of the cover, I think really draws you in, and you're curious to see, what pretty means to Phoebe.
And part of that is that photograph by Andrew Moore that's taken from a museum in Russia, St. Petersburg, I think. And you look through that doorway into an enfilade of other rooms. And I think that's very intriguing and very much draws you in. But not only that, just the playful shapes of the furniture, the way all the curves interact with each other, and the textures and just the metallic. I think it says a lot, but in a very quiet way.
And it's difficult to make a statement when you're using neutrals, and you have very successfully done that. So congratulations.
Thank you. Neutrals are actually much harder than color. I always say you can hide behind color, and it's easy, and you can get away with a lot of shading mistakes, but not with neutrals. All of a sudden they'll be too white or too cream or too yellow or too green, or you'll see pink, and I've seen it all. So I have learned over the years with neutrals, I take them out in the bright light and look at them.
And speaking of, we have this stunning bedroom. Drapery is really featured in most of your projects, whether it be a bedroom or a living room. How does it influence your decision about what you're going to do in the room?
Well, this room was filled with windows. There were 5 really large windows in it, and I wanted the sunlight to still stream in. So I chose actually one of your fabrics. It's a Larson wool sheer, and it's so beautiful because it drapes so beautifully, and it's such a rich, gorgeous sheer. And then it's just got a little trim on the leading edge just to give it a little definition. But I feel like it gives you everything these windows need to have, but still allows a lot of natural light to come in, which is what I was trying to achieve.
It's really seamless, and there's something about this room that, although it's very tranquil, it also has this pop with the wood and, you know, just the organic shape. So I think it's very successfully done. And again, you know, this beautiful use of drapery at the windows is such a lovely signature of yours. Very, very successful.
Thank you. And I used, in this room, I used the wood as a color contrast. You know, instead of using a fabric color contrast, I thought I'll just use wood. And I had other antique pieces in the room. But the Biedermeier chest on the left of the bed just is a beautiful antique that sort of set the tone. And that's also one of my signatures. I always use antiques in a room. I never do all new. I never do all old either, but I always incorporate some old pieces in the room because I think it gives the room so much soul and interest.
Okay. Now this is an exquisite room. You've got so many different elements that are bringing it all together. How do you start with a room? What's your inspiration point? You know, you've designed so many beautiful, you know, jaw-dropping rooms. Where do you start in a space like this?
Okay, so this room was just a space challenge. It was gigantic. It was a huge bedroom. And I thought, how do I create intimacy? And it had double story ceilings. And I think the curtains, which are beautiful embroidery, are 26 feet long. So that just gives you an idea of just how high the ceiling is here. And I thought, well, how can I bring it down? So I hung the large Coromandel screen on the wall, hoping to like anchor one space on one side of the room, and then I have the bed on the other side of the room, and both of them have big scale, but I was still trying to like bring it down to human scale so that it feels cozy. And I did a lot of just restrained color in here. It's basically just 2 tones of this pale celadon and ivory, and just varied the textures of those things and didn't sway from my color palette at all. And I think it created a really peaceful, tranquil space. And one thing that a lot of people don't understand about these peaceful rooms that I do is that it comes from just a steel cage of organization and control. And I always think that's really funny is because this room's no accident. These colors are selected so carefully. And it's like, you know, whenever you're at a wedding or a party where everything's just flowing beautifully, and it didn't just happen by accident. There's a wedding organizer or a party planner there who thought of every single detail. And that's why it flows. And that's why this room is successful, because a lot of thought went into it, even though it looks simple, it wasn't.
I would say that, you know, just knowing you and knowing your work, one of your principles of creating a beautiful, pretty room is that planning, that organization, as you said. You know, nothing happens by accident, that you have an end result that is as successful as this. So there has to be a tremendous amount of planning that goes into it. I mean, I know, for this color selection, every single dye lot, every tone, every porcelain piece that's sitting in there all has to blend together and work so seamlessly. And it is absolutely brilliant.
And beyond that, everything is drawn ahead of time. Like I start with the floor plan, I draw the floor plan, then I start elevating. So I elevated that screen, I elevated those sconces, I elevated the curtains, the mantle, everything in the room was drawn in elevation. In the room that you're sitting in, Key, the same thing, those cabinets were drawn. I want to make sure before the furniture is carried in that it's going to fit, and it's going to be the scale that I want. A scale is something that's it's very hard to learn and understand, but once you get it and you understand that the drawings don't lie, then you can have a lot more confidence going into the room that it's going to really pull off the way you want it to.
As most of our listeners know, James Michael Howard is your husband. Do you think that Jim's attention to detail and architectural background has influenced you in your design over the years? I will sort of share a funny story. I was doing a panel discussion with Jim a number of years ago, and we were talking, or it may have even been Meet the Howards, and he tells a funny story about one of the first projects you two had worked on together, and the sofa was far too large for the room, and he kept saying to you, you need to do an elevation. And you know, Phoebe, with all of her confidence, I know it's going to work. I know it's, well, everybody has to make that mistake once, and then you know.
That's right. Absolutely. Jim is the one who's actually taught me to draw everything and to trust the drawings. And also Jim and I both believe that architecture and accessories are the make and break points of a room, and that everything else sort of falls into the middle. So I think that as much as the architecture is important, so are all the little accessories that you place around in a room. As you know, so many people can ruin a room or ruin bookcases with too many picture frames of all different types, or just tchotchkes or things sitting around that just distract your eye. So I like for my accessories always to be edited and very carefully placed and very carefully thought out as well, which usually means that I bring an entire truckload of them and then edit it down as I go, which is the beauty of owning the stores. I have the privilege of being able to do that.
I was going to say, is that the backdrop to be able to, you know, feature your vision in your stores, in the Mrs. Howard stores, so people can really live in a room, understand what your principles are as far as design. I mean, this bedroom is drop dead gorgeous.
Thank you. So this bed, I think it's about 10 feet tall. So it really helps define the bed space as a room within a room. So it had the seating area on the left and this big gorgeous bed on the right, which had just yards and yards and yards of beautiful silk on the inside, and the outside is wool, and it has a tiny little banding of silk. So the details are very subtle. It's just all about the scale and the presence of this bed and creating something in this very large space that makes you still feel cozy and cocooned in. And then I just, of course, start layering in all the bedding and all the beautiful pieces inside the bed. I've got a fur blanket at the foot of the bed and really soft. I like sateen sheets, sometimes really soft, shiny sheets. And I just, I love to make a bed like nobody's business. That's one of my favorite things to do.
Well, we love you for that, because it means you're rich. And when we know you're doing a bed, we rub our little hands together in anticipation of lined bed. Nellie had reached out to me at the beginning of the pandemic because you all had committed to the show house. And she sent me a text, and, I thought the world was coming to, a bitter end a year ago. And she asked if, we would like to participate. And I said, absolutely, anything for you guys. However, maybe slightly conscious of our yardages, perhaps we don't line everything. And Nellie's response was, we will see.
Yeah. Well, that's a good point.
You can't change, again, this is one of your principles of design. You've shared with me that you come from a background of sewing, and, you have a seamstress eye when it comes to drapery and bedding, and it's an art. I mean, you really are creating these individual pieces of art here.
Thank you. I do know how to sew really well, and that does help me in understanding fabrication of curtains and bed hangings and upholstery and everything else, because I'm a stickler for really good sewing and a lot of hand sewing, and I really won't stand for anything less. And, sometimes people will say, why is this canopy bed cost so much? And I'm like, the inside of it alone is 65 yards. The outside of it, is 40 yards. Add that up, plus all the labor that goes into it. I mean, it's so difficult to construct and transport one of these beds. If you can imagine trying to put this thing on a truck and get in here all in one piece, and nothing is dirty and nothing is destroyed. It's really a lot of work. Of course, I think it's worth it, but it's going to cost you.
So you've designed so many pretty bedrooms. Would you say that it's one of your favorite rooms in the house?
Oh, definitely. Definitely. I'm always most comfortable in doing the bedrooms. I don't know why I'm so drawn to them. And I love to do children's rooms. I love to do guest rooms. I love to do a master bedroom. I always feel confident that I know that I can make a pretty bedroom no matter what.
Well, rumor has it that you have a favorite pattern from Colfax and Fowler. And
yeah.
There's a new home on the horizon that there have been some sneak previews of. Tell me a little bit about what you're doing in your bedroom in your new home.
Okay, so Jim and I are building a house on the beach in Jacksonville Beach, here where we live. And I have had a lifelong dream of having a Bowood bedroom. I mean, literally since we were first married, I had a Bowood knockoff bedroom 35 years ago. And I just have, I mean, if he's heard it once, he's heard it a million times. I just want a Bowood bedroom. I just want a Bowood bedroom. I just have always wanted it. And the rest of the palette and the rest of the house, I realized sadly that the color of Bowood, it's iconic. It's been around forever. It's everybody knows it. The color palette wasn't going to work. So I just subtly suggested perhaps recoloring that iconic pattern. And lo and behold, about a few months later, I don't know if I got it in a text or an email, I get a picture of this bright white background with these beautiful blue-gray flowers on it. And it's just stunning and it's just perfection. So I'm doing my whole bedroom in it. And it's just going to be so beautiful because, of course, when you're looking outside and you see the beach, you wouldn't think about a chintz, but in this color, it just works. I just can't wait to share it with you. And you have to come and see it in person.
It is the Phoebe blue. We tend to call it old blue at Colfax and Fowler, but internally it's Phoebe blue.
That's what you nailed it. It's so perfect.
Good. We can't wait. Well, this room is pretty but handsome, if that's possible. It's got, just such beautiful tones. Tell me a little bit about this room and how it came to be.
Okay, so this is the house in Blackberry Farm, which is, they make rustic and timbers and local stones and all those types of things up there. And my client wanted all those elements, but she still said to me, I want you to bring in the pretty. So we, instead of having the beams wood, we whitewashed all of them. We whitewashed the whole ceiling. The walls are painted sort of tonally, like a shade down from the ceiling. And then the stones are all sort of, light in this kind of parged, washed color. And then we just kept all the tones of the woods and all the fabrics in here just sort of monochromatic and just muted. And I think what you can't see here is there's a beautiful view of the mountains, of the Tennessee mountains. So you walk in, you see this gorgeous green view, and then your eye just sort of casts over all these elements and picks up on it, but none of it is masculine or too rugged or too rough. It still is pretty.
It is indeed very, very successfully because you've incorporated organic with tailored and, again, all these beautiful neutral tones, which we know are not easy to get right. And I think you've really, the symmetry of the room is also really powerful. Just makes you want to step right in there.
I'm sort of a slave to symmetry, sometimes maybe to a fault, but I feel like it brings on a sense of order and calm. But then you can throw in like something weird, like this coffee table that I found in Atlanta. Mm-hmm. It's a jewelry maker's coffee table from France, and didn't think that the client would go for it because it's kind of weird looking in person. And I think it really makes the room that it's just an off piece,
Oh, and it flows so nicely with the rug as well. Yeah.
Thank you.
And you've got this pop of green just at the front of the image. Is that a velvet sofa?
Yeah, it's a bright green velvet sofa, which is basically what the client said she wanted when she came in. She said, if you just give me this green, and actually this entire house is green, it's shades of green, which really, and greens and oatmeals and things, and it actually really turned out really beautifully.
Yeah, it's great.
Thank you.
All right. Wow. This is lattice to the next level. This is, 2.0 lattice. Wow, this is really, really, really special. It looks,
thank you.
It looks so intricate. Tell us all about it.
So this is a house in Palm Beach, and it's sort of a big sunroom, and it opens up onto an outdoor space. So it's sort of an indoor-outdoor space. So I knew I wanted it to feel a little bit outdoorsy. Mm-hmm. And Jim designed all this lattice, and of course, just went to town on the design. It's very complicated to build something like this because you build all these panels and then you transport it into the room and then you put it in place. And getting all the circles and getting all the diamonds and everything to line up is takes a lot of work. So I applaud Jim for getting all that right.
Painful detail.
Go ahead.
I said it's painful detail.
It's painful detail that goes on paper, and then it turns in, and then of course the cabinet shop that produced it does the shop drawings, to make sure that it's double straight, and then it gets made and then it gets brought in. while everybody's biting their nails, hoping that none of it was wrong. But
I was going to say, and that the contractor would, had every single drywall element in the room absolutely perfect. So there were no bumps or mismatches.
the contractor in this case was perfection, just did an excellent job. I mean, I've really never seen anything executed as well as that was. So that sets the backdrop for the room. So a backdrop for the room like that, how can you fail? I mean, the walls and the lattice wraps up on the ceiling just a bit. It's just so beautiful. So it sets that wonderful Palm Beach feeling. And then I just use pastel colors, painted woods, rush, some wicker, natural elements. And then my client found that modern photograph up in Nantucket and brought it down. And I thought, wow, that just really, really helps the room, So it's really fun when my clients get engaged and start, searching for the right piece to send to me. It's wonderful.
And you used, you always have flowers in the room. Is that something that's important to you in pulling a room together?
Absolutely. So I'll just go back to a story my mother used to tell me all the time about her sister, my Aunt Myra, who lived in Montgomery, Alabama. Starting out very early on, they didn't have any money, but she was very stylish. She was very chic and she was very clean. So
I love her already.
Yeah, I love her. So her floors and her house, she painted them black and then she had them just waxed to the nine. So she waxed them all the time. My mother said you would just slip and fall the minute you walked in the house. She slip covered all of her furniture in white duck. And I mean, they were tight. My mom said you could pop a quarter off of them. You were scared to sit down because they were just so perfect. And then she kept fresh white lilies in the house all the time. And if you can imagine having nothing and making it so chic like that, it just really set a storyline in my head that, always have fresh flowers, always have plants and greenery in your house. Oh, you can always paint and you can keep anything clean and then bring in some freshness. I think you have a winning combination.
Absolutely. Go simple, clean, keep it easy. Yeah. And it's something that people can relate to, once it gets complicated, sort of it's out of control. I mean, your rooms are very, as we've said, very tranquil. This is a tranquil room, and I know we've got many more.
Thank you.
Wow, this is quite a view, and you've got this, again, beautiful drapery that is framing what looks like an ocean view, or some kind of. Maybe I'm on an island somewhere that I would love to be right now.
Yeah. So this is in Sea Island, Georgia, and that's a beautiful view of the intercoastal marshes, which is a super peaceful, tranquil view. And it's very relaxing when you sit out there. It's very low country feeling. And this house had all kinds of rough timbers and rustic elements. So when I got there, all those beams on the ceiling were all dark brown and all the boards were white. So the first thing I said was, let's just paint the whole ceiling white. It'll pick it up, because it drew your eye to it too much. And then I said, then we'll just do the whole room in neutrals and put this sheer stripe on the windows. And then all your views will be drawn outside, which is what happened. And then you have this wonderful casual textured seating area inside, which is all done in outdoor fabric. So it's actually a little bit bulletproof. Although what I always tell clients, fabric is fabric. Think about clothes. Do your clothes get dirty? Yes. Think about your car. Does your car get trashed over a few years? Yes. Your furniture is no different. It's going to get dirty. You're going to have to clean, replace, and so on. You can't expect fabric to outlast you, to outlive you. People have sometimes unrealistic expectations of fabric. So I always like to try to set the expectations to where they need to be. Like, think about a pair of white jeans. You get red wine on it. You just clean it.
Absolutely. Listen, I'm a big believer in you make the investment in a quality textile or fabric. However, it wears just like anything. And, you do have to take care of it. I mean, anything that is of value needs to be taken care of.
That's right. That's right. Just like the car analogy usually make people usually understand, because when you get a new car and it's so perfect and you love it so much, and then 2 years later, it's not perfect anymore.
It's not that perfect anymore.
The new car smell is gone. I know.
I'm interested in what your design process would have been with a room that has this amazing view. I mean, where do you start? It seems so overwhelming, but you've got what looks like a perfectly composed room.
Well, the biggest mistake that people make when they have a room with a view is they always want to place the furniture to look at the view.
You're
And
right.
first thing I say is you're going to see this view all day long, every day, every time you pass through this room. You don't need to have stadium seating set up to look at this view because number one, at night, which is when you're probably going to be entertained, the view is gone. So you want to always have something comfortable and welcoming to walk into. And second of all, there's no view from 36 inches down. You see that even I've got sofas in both of these windows, supposedly blocking the view. It's not blocking the view, it's enhancing the view. And it's making you have something that feels inviting to walk into, and you're still enjoying the view all day. And then at night you have something beautiful. You have the curtains there, and it feels like a cozy space.
Well, the view almost becomes the art. I mean, you've chosen a drapery that really frames this beautiful view. I mean, it doesn't sit back. You've got the horizontal stripes, and the composition of all of your rooms is so intricate and so well thought out. I think that's really something that is underestimated in how you compose a room is really masterfully done, Phoebe. I must say.
Thank you. Well, there's a couple of principles here. One, have a place to put your feet up. Two, have a place to put a drink down. Those are two of my principles. Those are key, especially
those are key. I love it.
Men have got to be able to put their feet up, and they have to have comfortable places to sit.
That's right. And is there a cocktail designated for each room? Is there a cocktail that's designated for each room?
Oh, yeah. Absolutely.
White wine room because of the light upholstery.
This is a great one for white wine.
Exactly. All right, good. Wow. This is very, 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 I would say, intricately laid out room. It's got a casual sophistication to it. Talk to us about the composition and decision-making on the fabric choices.
So my clients had a very important collection of modern art. The Richard Serra above the fireplace is just one of many pieces that they purchased during the construction of this house and that they had before while they were working with an art consultant to buy important pieces. And so I wanted the room to stand up to the art, but I also didn't want the room to be offsetting or too formal, because it is at the beach. So I used the straw rug and all the casual blue and white stripes and the blue painted coffee table and the printed linens on the curtains to sort of offset the seriousness and not that the art's imposing, because I think it's wonderful, but it still feels like a casual, fun setting where you could, sit with couples and have drinks and cocktails, hors d'oeuvres, and just have a good time. And I used, the straw pillows, all the little casual elements, and the little jaguar, little wicker jaguar that I found down on Dixie Highway. I think he just sets a fun tone.
And I mean, you've mentioned art in a number of your projects. What is your role usually in the decision-making process or the collaboration of art with your
Usually, a lot of my clients work with an art consultant, and when they're doing that, they're making not only their purchases for the house, but they're also buying investment pieces. So I want to make sure that when they're looking at something, if they ask me, and they usually do, I'll elevate it on the wall for them. I'll show them it could go here, here, or here, or you don't have a wall for this. It's too big. That happened to me with a client in Palm Beach the other day. They bought this gigantic photograph of a tiger, and I had to send them the elevations and show them that it was 2 feet above everything. I mean, it didn't fit over the sofa, it didn't fit over the sideboard, it didn't fit anywhere in the house. And so they had to take the piece to another house. Thank goodness didn't have it shipped down, just to find out later. So that's where the elevations really can come in handy. So that's, of course, I offer my opinion, but art's a personal choice. And it's more important that the clients love their pieces. And my role is just to find a home for it usually. And I'm thrilled when they're doing that, because it just, of course, makes for an elevated space.
So what's the Phoebe Howard decision-making process? At what point does what you believe and what you think overrule what the client wants, let's say in this art decision?
Well, what I do is find out early on if there's going to be any art purchased or if there's not. If there's not going to be art purchased, I start up with wallpaper, mirrors, murals on the wall. I start thinking of ways to decorate the walls and decorate the spaces that won't have important art, and then of course we have all kinds of, prints and things, and there are all kinds of, cheap and cheerful things that you can hang that look wonderful. Yeah, I think you can make a strong statement just from a great composition of, baskets on the wall or plates, or, I've hung all kinds of things on the, botanicals. I do a lot of dried botanicals. So I'm always thinking about it. And when the clients don't have something, then that's when I take over.
Is there a face-off? Is there like a point that they know that Phoebe's design integrity is going to win this this decision?
If the client is hesitant about something, I always say, don't worry about it. I'll bring it in. If you don't like it, it's going to go back on the truck, as far as artwork and things go. Sometimes I have to just show them in person at the installation. I've got a situation like that right now with a client. I'm trying to hang this giant Anglo-Indian screen over their sofa, and I'm trying to hang blue and white plates and brackets and all over this screen, and they just can't visualize it. So I just keep telling them, don't worry, I'm going to bring it in. If you don't like it, back it goes. Sometimes you have to just show people.
Absolutely.
That's the beauty of me having a store. I have the power to be able to bring all those things in. We set up like a little shopping space out in the garage or something with all the staging things, and I just shop, and then we take it all back.
And how does it work? I mean, you and Jim are building a house together. Where does the design loyalty start and stop with your husband, with your partner, who's also a very acclaimed designer?
That's a sticky situation. So I always defer to Jim with the architecture. I'm not gonna mess with him. Anytime I get in his sandbox, he does not do his best work. So I need to just leave him alone, let him do his thing, and then I pretty much take over the decorating. I mean, he can do a thing or two here, and certainly I'll do things that I think that he'll like. But I like to really put the rooms together, and accessorize them and all that stuff.
And do you guys have this in writing? I mean, is this, something?
We actually do. In the beginning, when we were building our house, I said, okay, why don't we both make sure that we agree on every single thing, that we both like it? Because there's so many choices. Surely in the whole world, we could find choices that we both like. After about a month, I was like, forget it. We're not doing that. I'm just going to take over and move forward, because this is never going to happen.
And
both of us like it.
I seem to remember being with you and Jim when you walked into your apartment in Atlanta, and the hardware had already been installed, and you sort of screeched as if you'd seen a mouse.
Because I don't know anything about what it's doing with regard to the architecture. I just walk in and I'm surprised like a client, because I don't look at anything. I don't question anything. But every once in a while I'll walk in and see something and I'm like, and then he kind of says, why didn't you get involved? And I'm like, my role. But anyway, at the end of the day, it all works out.
It does. Well, this room is absolutely just tranquil and chic, and tell me a little bit about what the premise is here, and what is this beautiful room?
Well, thank you. This is a home office designed before the pandemic, before home offices were so desirable as they are today. It's got big built-in cabinetry on the left-hand side that you can't really see. So it has a ton of storage, for printers and such, and paper and all that kind of stuff, and file cabinets. Then it looks out onto a little walled courtyard garden. So it's got a beautiful outdoor view. But what's so mesmerizing and so beautiful and so intriguing about this room is the painting that was purchased after the room was completed. We actually had another painting there originally. My client found this one. She's like, what do you think? The big topic became, how high do we hang her so that she's at the optimum, viewing level? Because as you walk into this room, you're coming down a long hallway. And so she's at the end of the hallway, sort of pulling you into the room. And I think it's such a soft, but such a powerful statement at the same time. And I think, just having the chair in the corner that's designed by Bunny Williams. I love that chair, and it's covered in a shearling fabric and the little Tibetan little poof under the desk. I mean, I think this is a home office that anybody would enjoy.
It looks like a modern day version of the Crown. I mean,
Thank you.
Absolutely stunning. And you've got this kind of mid-century modern light fixture, which really, kind of brings all these wonderful elements in. How important is lighting and the choice of lighting in your projects, because you have so much natural light.
Lighting is a really important thing, and I like to delve into that really early on. And lighting is an area, in my opinion, that you can play high-low, because this is not an expensive light fixture. And I had a pretty decent budget in this room. But I think this light fixture looks great there. So I think it's an area where you can sort of save a little bit on the budget and, save it for the fabrics.
We couldn't agree with you more.
I want to have plenty of money for the curtains and the textiles in the room, because that's kind of my favorite part.
Well, and that's very much of a signature in all of your rooms. I mean, you've got beautiful, looks like linen or wool drapery in a kind of a pocket design, which is a little bit more modern. Tell us about that.
It's called a rod pocket. So basically you just pull the crown molding forward. It creates a pocket for the curtains to go up into, and then they operate really easily, sort of like in a hotel room. And you don't have to have the exposed hardware. You don't have the expense of the hardware. You don't have the sight of the hardware. So it's just a little cleaner. These windows were very low. And so I did Conrad shades, woven shades, to sit on the wall space between the bottom of the rod pocket and the top of the window, and then made the curtains go all the way up to give some height.
Yeah, it's fantastic. And
thank you.
Where would you even start in a room like this? Function?
I started function. Yes, we started with the desk design, and we chose that desk because it's curved.
I love it.
It's storage shelves, and it's got plenty of drawer storage. But the curve on the front of the desk sort of fit into the room a little bit more, because it's a tiny little space. It's actually a small little room.
Yeah, no, it's so inviting. So what is on the horizon for Phoebe Howard and the second half of 2021 and moving into 2022?
Yeah, so I've been in the past year only taking jobs within a 6-hour radius of here, since I didn't want to fly. So I'm set up all over Florida. I've got jobs all over the West Coast, all over the East Coast, a few in Georgia, Baton Rouge, kind of like just sort of localized for now. And I've really kind of enjoyed it, not being on an airplane 2 to 4 times a week as I was previously. I'm enjoying spending a little bit more time at home. I've got 6 grandkids now. I just leaked something. And I'm loving just being home and spending time with my family more.
How often are you babysitting?
A lot.
Okay.
A lot. Yeah. Jim and I watch 2 of them we have them in ages from 1 to 11, and they all live here except for the 2 little girls that live in England, which we see them twice a year.
Rosie and Violet, I believe.
Rosie and Violet, who are just
they are superstars after all.
Oh, they're so cute. They're so cute. They finally got over here for 2 months in January, and we had a really great visit, and we're planning to go see him in June. We're planning to go over there.
Oh, nice. Well, yeah, we're allowed to travel now with our vaccines.
I'm vaccinated. We're ticketed. We're going.
You're going. No, it's been nice to stay close to home. And the install of your house, when is? And I mean, listen, I absolutely appreciated the opportunity. So I sent you kind of a little package of goodies and things, but he has this funny little way of kind of, probing you to kind of get on the stick. And
we had plenty of time. I knew that, but Jim likes to really order early. He likes to really get it done ahead of time. And I'm always kind of waiting to see if something else is going to
that's right.
There's going to be something new that I would have missed, so I wait until the last minute until I have to pull the trigger. I will admit that.
Well, listen, the room that I am sitting in right now, we did a book signing in our Florida showroom when you launched Coastal Blues. And I said to Catherine, our design director, let's just bring a couple of new Couch and Tout items to show Phoebe. And so we were there, and Phoebe just hones in on rose and hydrangea. I mean, it was literally from afar. And I saw her face light up. Scissors were, my hand to her hand. Catherine's eyes are just like, what are you doing? And Phoebe's cutting a piece of rose and hydrangea. Catherine's, oh my gosh, this is our only piece. The mill hasn't, anyway. Needless to say, when Phoebe has her eye on something, it doesn't matter. She almost can't shake it, because this fabric is not only in your Atlanta home, it is in this beautiful room that I'm sitting in. And, you know, when you hold something true and hold on tight, it goes big.
It's such a favorite. As you said, you know, I've got it on the 2 sofas in the room you're sitting in. And it's so beautiful. And it's such a feminine room, such a feminine fabric and such a masculine room. And I think it still really works. But in my Atlanta apartment, you know, I plastered it on a whole room. I put it all over the walls and on 2 chairs. And it's just the dreamiest, most beautiful pattern, the colors, because it's a chintz, but it has, you know, the browns and the grays and the unexpected colors, which is what makes it so intriguing to me. Well, everything about it's intriguing to me. It's just the colors, it's the pattern, it's the scale, it's the whole thing. I mean, I think it's just a delightful fabric, and what a great discovery.
So she might
in that showroom that day. I wouldn't have even known.
Exactly. So, you know, you may hold out for something better, but once you've got something in mind, it's hard to let go. I know.
That's it. That's right. That's right.
Well, we're so thrilled to have been part of this, and it was so nice to see you and catch up. And the book is absolutely stunning. And when I say that this is fresh off the press, I think that, you know, we were trying to get a copy so that we could see the book before we were doing this this talk, and came straight from the printer, straight from you know, the box onto my desk, and it's really just such an inspiration, and we appreciate you sharing it with us.
Thank you. I'm glad they literally just got in last week.
I know.
It just came out. Yeah. So perfect timing.
So the Phoebe Howard .link net is going to come up on everybody's chat, and it will take you directly to the website. Will allow you to purchase the book. And for the first 20 purchases, you will receive a signed copy with a custom-made Captain Tote bookmark. So we are excited to share that. And we thank you so much, Phoebe. It was amazing.
So happy to see you again. I can't wait to see you in person soon.
I know, big hugs, and
big hugs.
We'll see you soon.
Okay, thank you, Key. It's so great to see you. Thank you.